There is an ancient laid down by Manu in his Manu Smriti. Grahastastu yada pasyed vali palidam atmanaha apatyasya apatyam tadarandyam samasayed. It's a statement which is the fundamental statement for grihasthasrama. So when a person, whether grandmother or grandfather, sees his or her hair getting gray or face getting wrinkled, instead of whitening the teeth and blackening the hair, trying to reverse the metabolism, such a person should leave his or her home and go to a forest and spend the rest of the lifetime in meditation and contemplation. So the vali grihastasya yada pasyet vali palidam atmanaha apatyasya apatyam tada aranyam samasayet. So apatyasya apatyam means grandson or daughter, depending upon the case. So when your hair is getting gray and your face is getting wrinkled, and when you see the face of your grandson or granddaughter, then you should go to a distant place and spend the rest of the lifetime with husband and wife together, and spend the rest of our lifetime in meditation, contemplation, maybe in some kind of activities associated with Vedanta societies or a temporary neighborhood, or maybe teaching small children. These are different ways of practicing Vanaprasthasrama. So following this tradition, his name is Bharata. He had not become Jada Bharata at that time, became later. So he was a king, Bharata king. Remember, India got the name Bharata Varsha, not from this Bharata. It is from Bharata mentioned in Kalidasa's Abhijnana Shakuntala. That is a different tradition. So this king left his palace and kingdom and everything, went to a forest and put up a hermitage and started living on the bank of a small river. And then one day what happened was, so he found a lion was chasing a female deer who was pregnant, and as the deer just crossed over the stream, it gave birth to a baby deer, and the mother deer died immediately. And the compassionate king jumped in the river, in the stream, and rescued the little tiny animal, and it lived in that hermitage for a long time. In course of time, the king got too old and he was about to die. And as his death approached, he was not thinking too much about God. Remember, he was a king who had his own grandchildren, great-grandchildren perhaps, and he left all of them behind and came to the forest. And now he was thinking about the deer instead of thinking about God. It was to think about God that he left his palace and his own grandchildren. Now, forgetting all, he was thinking about the little baby deer. And he died and he was born as a deer. So, yam vapi smaran bhavam tejit yandi kalebaram tam tameva iti kaundeya sada madbhava bhavidaha. The Gita, there is a statement. Depending upon what you think of in your mind, you are born again. So in the Shankaracharya's Brahma Sutra, there is a bhashya, Tadandarastu Ramkhadi Sambarishuptaka Prasna Nirupanabhyam. Is a famous sutra in the Brahma Sutras, in the 3rd chapter. It deals with our leaving this physical body for the next life. So this king he should have rescued the animal, saved the animal, but he should have put his mind on God. Instead of that, there was sleep. In order to think of God, he left his palace and his own grandchildren, and now he's thinking about a baby deer. So he was born as a deer. No, does it mean that it will become a wild deer? No. The deer was a very spiritual deer, a spiritual animal. He won't leave the hermitage. It won't go away. It won't mix with other animals. So if you have got in your family children who tell you, well, I won't be, I don't want this thing. So you should go to gymnasium, you should go for skiing, you should know. If you come across any such children, you should remember, maybe in the past, and no, I want to read Aristotle, I want to read Socrates, I want to Kant, if not Shankara and Ramanuja. No, these are not for you. You should study information technology so you get fabulous amount as a big salary. That's what you should do. You should not do that. I know I told you in the beginning, I know 3-4 cases where Indian mothers, who were many of them even medical practitioners, successfully ran their own children crazy, forcing them to go to MIT. They didn't want to go there. They wanted to study something else. I know many Indian parents will be terribly angry with me if I tell them. They are actually making total fools of themselves. If they find that their children, some of them are interested in music, in mysticism, in philosophy, they may become much greater than any of you imagine. I tell you something very funny, because I want to offend you. That's why I'm saying this. We have a brahmachari in the center I'm coming from. He was a well-known mathematician, Stanford mathematician, PhD, Princeton, all that. So he had joined, and he's so intensely interested in Sanskrit. Some Indian IIT people came, and they was, so you are from Princeton and MIT and Stanford, you have become a monk. Then I told them, see, in India you struggle to get a scholarship to come to Stanford and got a job here. This man was born here, got into Stanford straight away, and MIT, and he threw away all this into gutter, and he wants to study Shankara Bhashya and the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And you are admiring him for what he threw away into the gutter. Stanford PhD may be a big thing for you. For him, it is trash. That is the glory of Vedanta. That is the glory of Indian spirituality. So I gave them a piece of my mind. Because they should have admired him for becoming a monk, not becoming a PhD from Stanford or Princeton, which he threw into the gutter. What I mean to say, this deer was a great devotee in the previous life who had given up his own empire, palace, comforts, kingdom, everything. It was not in vain. So deer was always meditating on God, but it has got an animal body. What to do? So he remained within the geographical limitations of the hermitage. And when the time for death came, it was not thinking of deers or grass to eat. It was thinking of God. And it was born again as a great saint. He is Nijada Bharata. He won't speak to anybody because he remembers, once upon a time, I had a sleep. I wanted to save an animal. That was a great thing to do. But I became so much attached to the animal that all my sacrifices went in vain, and I had to take the birth of an animal. So that memory was still there in Jadabharata. So he was born as a heavy fellow, an overfed fellow, totally dull, won't speak to anyone, won't listen to his own parents. So it's so-called Jada, mean dull, practically dead, as good as dead. So one day he was sitting somewhere, and the king was going, Raghugana. It's a famous story in the Bhagavata Purana, very famous. These stories actually give you a flash into the glory, the greatness of Indian civilization. These stories tell you much more eloquently about the real story of India's spiritual culture. So a king was being taken in a palanquin by his foot soldiers. And this fat fellow, who became Jadabharada, he was sitting somewhere, well-fed fellow, strong fellow, practically dull, won't speak to anyone. So suddenly, one of their palanquin drivers fell sick. They were looking for a hefty, strong fellow, and he was sitting there. Come on, you bear this. And he started bearing this palanquin. He was a philosopher, He didn't care for the instructions of the king. He was not doing that for his salary. So he started bearing this palanquin in his own style. So the king felt a lot of jerking. Not very comfortable. So he stopped. He stopped here. Who is the new fellow you recruited? And he found. Then the king asked him, who are you? What's the matter? And the Jadabharada unfolded himself. One of the most profound spiritual discussions you find. Coming from Jadabharada. Why? He was the mighty king who 2 life cycles earlier had given up a kingdom. And now he's born as a dull fellow. Now, and then the king Raghugana, that is, he fell flat at the feet of this dull-witted fellow. And then Raghugana understood it. So the point is that this discussion is very important. So sometimes there can be dissent, sometimes there can be an ascent. The doctrine of karma and the doctrine of reincarnation are much more scientific, much more intense than the laws of physics. Because the laws of physics can get modified. As science marches forward, nature will reveal more and more of its secrets. So as more and more new discoveries are made, the older scientific laws get modified or appear to be less accurate than they were when they were discovered. But these laws don't change because they are so invisible and so real. So that is the story. Another story also I can give, this your interest, very close to our own life. Ajamila Vakyanam. A boy who was brought up as a very God-fearing child, had a wonderful upbringing. He had a deviation when he became young. He became a scourge for society and a curse for his own parents, whom he ill-treated. And he had practically led a very loose life. And when the time for his death came, something happened. He found that the devils, Satan's or maybe Yama's angels, so to speak, more or less equivalents, So Yama's angels appeared to take him to hell. And then again, Vishnu's angels appeared to take him to Vishnu Loka. Let us say hell, heaven, so to speak. So there was a debate. They were debating, no, he belongs to us, no, he belongs to him. You are such an evil man, so straight away we are going to take him to hell, Yama's angels. Vishnu, no, he's not going to hell, he's going to heaven. Why? The reason is, he was totally helpless. His senses became weak. When a person is dying, when he is not able to control and manipulate his own senses, whatever ideas are expressed or deposited in his mental system will unfold themselves, will express themselves. You may be the best trained diplomat. And the old picture of the treaty between Neville Chamberlain and Hitler, both are shaking hands, 1938. And Hitler immediately attacked Poland and Czechoslovakia within months. Second World War started. So with the worst intentions in mind, one can smile. You can be a master, you may be Prince Metternich himself. You may be Machiavelli himself. But you won't be able to smile. You cannot hide your own feelings when death is knocking at the door. That's why Edavan Sankhya Yoga Abhyam Swadharma Parinisthaya Janma Labha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. This is the answer that Suga Brahmarshi gave to Parikshit. What is the answer? By Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Ante Narayana Smriti. You should be able to leave this world with God's name in your lips and God's form in your mind. This is the answer that Suga gave to Parikshit, and this is the beginning of Bhagavata Purana. The whole Bhagavata discussion is nothing but a response to a question from Parikshit, who had only 7 days to live. Atha prichhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purusasyeha yatkaryam riyamanasya sarvata. Suppose you have 7 days to live, 7 into 24 hours. How should you spend your time? Instead of withdrawing all the money from the bank and going to Las Vegas, one should try to make preparation to leave the world with Ante Narayana Smriti. Thinking of God, one should be able to leave the world. That is the beginning of, and this is the whole discussion of Bhagavata is a response to this question. Ada prachamisam siddhim yoginam paramam. Now, Ajamila was totally helpless, totally lost. Suddenly the thoughts of his own evil deeds came to his mind. But immediately another thought came. He thought of his own son, whose name was Narayana. And when that thought came, he cried out his own son's name, Narayana. When he cried out God's name, then what happened? He also remembered that that was the holy name that he was uttering with great respect and reverence, with devotion, as a child, when he was being brought up by his own parents as a good boy, God-fearing boy. So the early practice had taken deep roots. It was not lost. So when he uttered his son's name, he was not thinking of God. But when he later, he may have thought, maybe it was God's name that he used to recite as a child. Immediately, Lord Vishnu's messengers came and they took him to heaven. So, whatever little effort we make in our life will not be wasted. So, in the 8th verse of the 12th chapter, those who have got the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, 8th verse. You can see, Mayi eva mana adharsva, Mayi buddhim nivesaya, nivasishyasi Mayi eva ada urdham na samsaya, Atha chittam samadhadum na shaknoshi Mayi sthiram, Abhyasa yogena tato mami chaptam dhananjaya, Abhyasepi asamarthosi madharma paramo bhava, Madattham abhikarmani kurvan siddhim avapsisi, Atha edadabi ashaktosi kartum madhyoga masidakha, Sarva karma phalatyagam tata kuryadatmavan. 4 verses give you a picture of spiritual evolution in a descending order from 8th verse to 11th verse. The 8th verse gives you the picture of a highest spiritual person who has given himself completely to God. Mayi eva mana adarsva Mayi buddhim nivesaya, nivasishyasi Mayi eva ada urdham na samsaya. Anyone who has given his mind and intellect and everything to God, he will be living in God and God will be living in him. It is a picture of the highest spiritual devotee. It is also a kind of Advaitic experience where you become one with the Lord. It is called Parabhakti. It is called Sharanagati or Prapatti. When we become instruments in the hands of a mighty spiritual reality. So Shankaracharya, commenting on the 10th verse of the 13th chapter, those who have got the text, you can say, Maicha ananya yogena bhaktihi avibhicharini vivikta desha sevittum anabhirjana samsati. These are the great verses where Lord Krishna says the highest devotion and the highest Advaita Anubhuti are the same. So, the most sublime form of devotion is called Avibhicharini Bhakti, unwavering, steady, stable Bhakti, devotion to God. Shankaracharya writes commentary on this. So he says, Na vibhicharana shila, vibhicharani, achala, shuddha, then he says, sacha jnanam. That purest, most sublime form of devotion is the highest experience of Advaita. So when you reach this state, you yourself become one with the Lord. As I mentioned this morning, when you go with an empty glass to the ocean, you can get one glass full of ocean water. When you pour milk into a glass, if the glass is completely empty, you get one glass full of pure milk. If the glass is 99% water, you get only 1% milk. Very often our prayers don't work because the skepticism, Lord Krishna says, Samsiyatma Vinasyati. The worst enemy in spiritual life is skepticism. Skepticism is a negative aspect of doubt. There are two types of doubts. Inquisitiveness. Now, Vivekananda was a doubting person. That's why he became Vivekananda. Suppose he had gone to Sri Ramakrishna's room. All right, fine, everything I agreed. He would not be Vivekananda. He wanted to test every inch of his journey. And so he asked questions. He wanted clarifications. That kind of inquisitiveness is one kind of positive doubt. There is another kind of inquisitiveness that's almost like a wheel. I have myself encountered this. I still encounter almost every Sunday in San Francisco. People ask the same question every Sunday. And when they ask the question, when you answer, their mind is not there. So they are all actually, so the same, it's like a wheel. So you never come out of the wheel. You because the wheel has no beginning, no end. Every point is the beginning and end both. Real doubt is like a straight line. It comes to an end somewhere. So great spiritual seekers will have doubt. So people who reach this highest form of bhakti, which is explained as in the 8th verse of the 12th chapter, Mayyeva manatharsva may buddhim nivesaya. Such persons have reached the state of prapatti. Those who have reached this level of prapatti or sharanagati, they are practicing 6 qualities according to Ramanuja: Anugulyasya sankalpaha, Pradigulyasya varjanam, Rakshasya vishwasa, Goptrutta varanam, Tata Atma Nikshepaka Shadvidha sharanagati. Sharanagati or prapatti or self-surrender has 6 important characteristics. One is positive thoughts, no negativity, no skepticism, strong faith, which Girichandra Ghosh had. That's why he became a saint. But that's why Girichandra Ghosh did not immediately accept Sri Ramakrishna's advice. He was not sure he will be able to practice it. And Sri Ramakrishna understood. He was a man of integrity with all his other drawbacks. So that anugulyasya sankalpa, pratigulyasya varjanam, all negative thoughts giving up. Then God is our protector. Rakshasiddhi Vishwasa Goptrutta Varanam Tatha. God is only protector, Gopta. So, Atma Niksheba Karpanne Shadvidha Sharanagati means complete surrender. And a total feeling of disregard for these physical, sensual things that stand in the way of our spiritual evolution. That's called prapatti. Such people will be able to take even problems in their strain. Real devotees of God, that's what Gita tells you. They can practice Abhyasa Yoga. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. It is in the Bhagavata Purana. Prahlada teaches his friends. Who are the friends? Children of demons. That is Prahlada saying. The greatest of devotees is Prahlada. So if you go for his antecedent, biological tree, there is nothing much right to home about. His father was a demon who mostly spent his lifetime creating problems for other people. So that was Prahlada's story. And he is the greatest, the archetypal devotee, according to Sri Ramakrishna, the classic example of an ideal devotee. So he himself says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. So Shravanam is an example, Parikshit, who listened to Bhagavata Purana. Kirtanam and Smaranam, both you find in Ajamila story. And Padasevanam, Lakshmi. Archanam is an example of Prithu. Vandanam is Akrura. Sakhyam is Arjuna. Dasya Bhakti is Hanuman. And Atman Nivedanam is Mahabali. All these examples are given here. So real devotees will be able to take even problems in their stride I mentioned. So there's a very famous verse. We don't know from where it comes. So far, no one has been able to trace it, but it's a very classic verse. The verse is this: Yasya anugraham ichchami tasya vittam karamyaham bandhavaisa viyogena brusham bhavati dukkhidaha tena dukkhena samtapto yadi mam na parityajit tam prasadam karishyami yad devairavi sudurlabham. It's an interesting verse. It's a very profound verse. If you read it, if you write down in a piece of paper, put in your pocket, you have no problem in this world. You won't have any scope for any complaint in life. She says, these ideas are put in the mouth of the Lord. Yasya anugraham ichchami tasya vittam karamyaham. Those whom I want to bless, those to whom I want to show grace, I have a way of dealing with them. What is the way? I take away all their wealth. Tasya vittam haramyaham. And not only that, I will get them completely isolated from their friends and their sycophants. Still being completely isolated, totally made back, not a very pleasant situation. Still, if they keep up their devotion to me, then I shall elevate them to such a high status that even gods will be jealous of them. Bandhavaisa viyogena bhrisham bhavati dukkhidaha tena dukkhena samtapto yadi mam na parityajit tam prasadam karishyami yad devairavi sudurlabham. So God has, if you have a problem, you should remember God is specially graceful to me. Because those whom God doesn't care for, He won't bother. Let him give chocolates, all right, let him be busy with chocolates. Candies, fine. Now, if anyone feeds their children all his lifetime only with chocolates and candies, when they reach their age adulthood, they will be your worst enemies. Suppose you help them with your own hand, helping to walk, that person will never learn to walk on his own feet, and they will be the worst enemies. So, in Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov, which I had academic obligation to write a thesis on, 19th century creative writing. So, there is a what right has God to take away from us our right to do what is bad for us? God has no right to take from us our right to do what is bad for us. So, Dostoevsky is an interesting character. Ivan Fyodorovich Karamazov, intellectual, a skeptic, a cynic, and a mighty thinker and philosopher. And what I mean to say, if we can look upon every experience as a gift from God, and that is the real attitude of every great spiritual seeker, then all problems stand solved. Then automatically the ideal of bhakti mentioned in the 8th verse of the 12th chapter becomes a reality. That is, Mayyeva manadharsva mai buddhim nivesaya. Nivasishasi mayyeva adavudhim nasamsya. Pain and pleasure, good and bad, happiness and unhappiness, profit and loss are two sides of the same coin, and the coin is coming from God. Then why should we bother? So Lord Krishna says, if you cannot practice the highest devotion, then practice this discrimination. Discrimination here means discerning wisdom of looking at everything from a higher perspective. Pain and pleasure, good and bad, unfortunate and fortunate events, all coming from the same God. Sabhyasepi asamarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madartham abhikarmani kurvan siddhim vapsisi is an extension of this. Then what happens? Every action becomes madartham. Into whatever we do, you bring the idea of God. So the uniqueness of Gita is, on the one hand, it gives you a manual that you can hold in your left hand while working with your right hand in the world. It also gives you a very sublime ideal of devotional philosophy. And then atha edabhya shaktosi kartum adhyogamasidaka sarva karma phalatyagam tadakuriyada atmavan. So suppose you cannot practice this, then do everything in whatever way you can, but mentally offer the result to God. But somehow a transcendental idea is brought into whatever we do, whatever we speak, whatever we think. Then whole life gets spiritualized. Prahlada says, for such a devotee, Nityotsavam bhavatyesham nityasri nityamangalam. For such a person, every day, every moment, every day, every action is an occasion for celebration. So Gita, even if you do not believe in God, Gita can give you a lifting hand. That is something unique about Gita. And I want to emphasize this in this age of agnosticism and people asserting that they want to do good things, but they don't believe in God. All right. But if they can do good things without a selfish motive, without being worried when their good actions are not acknowledged, then it becomes spiritual. The problem with doing good is that when we receive stones instead of gratitude, when we receive criticism instead of gratitude, we are not able to keep our mind in a state of equilibrium. That is the problem of doing good without a spiritual ideal. A person who has reached that state is called Siddha Prajna in the Gita language, in the second chapter. So Gita gives equal status to every one of the three yogas, and also lays down the highest characteristics of Parabhakti, Prapatti. At the same time, it tells you that you need not start there. You need not start at the MIT. You can start at the kindergarten. One day you'll reach there. So Gita, it actually looks upon the highest bhakti itself as the fifth Purushartha. It's called Panchama Purushartha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and Parabhakti the highest. No other devotional philosophical classic gives such important place to the highest devotion, highest state of bhakti. Highest bhakti is Advaita experience itself. So it is called Salokyam, Sarupyam, Samipyam, Sashti, and Sayujyam. These 5 states of spiritual evolution in bhakti are mentioned here. Many examples are the Gajendra Moksha, Gajendra Stuti, the hymn by Gajendra, Devaki Stuti, Brahma Stuti, or Prahlada Stuti, Narada Stuti. They are all great hymns which proclaim the highest form of devotion you can find in the Gita. Gita also gives some very simple ideas of practical spiritual life, even in ordinary lifestyle, not directly related to sadhana. Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Hold aside, for example, of food, or actions, duty, work, rest, sleep, all should be yukta, means moderate. And look at Buddha himself. Buddha's middle path, Madhya Pantha, is a contribution that comes from the Gita. Buddha's story you might have heard. Buddha practiced a kind of life-negating over asceticism. And he became so weak. Suddenly it flashed in his mind that this is not the right path to enlightenment. So yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Well, I shall give one interesting incident. I knew a person, I don't mention name, long back. She used to practice extreme austerities, including fasting, going without food. Too much. So, but he had one problem. He used to say, "Oh, see, I'm so ascetic. I don't eat on Ekadasi day. These fellows are eating all the time." See? Now, the point is, what that person needs is 4 square meals every day. And he should reach a natural state of austerity. Then he will practice austerity, but without complaint and without worrying about other people's practicing or not. Because the practice of austerity is to transcend body, not to declare war upon body. Because our body, if it is pampered, it drags our mind towards it. If it is tortured, then also body will drag our mind to it. Mind will be brought down to the bodily level. If you torture too much, you won't be able to meditate. If you you're a glutton, then also you won't be able to meditate. So, see Lord Krishna's simple example, yukta ahara, vihara, cheshta. So that means sleeping, rest, activities, food, everything should be moderate. So simple examples also you find in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, which is important, which can be applied to all life situations. Sthita Prajna's lakshanas are given as Dukkeshu Anidiktamana Sukheshu Vigadaspurka Vita Raga Bhaya Krothaka Stitadhihi Munirichyati. Arjuna asked the question, and in answer to Arjuna's question, Lord Krishna, Yukta Sthita Prajnasi Kam Bhasha Samadhis Tasya Keshiva Sthita Kim Prabhashida Kim Asida Vrajeda Kim, 54th verse, Arjuna's question to Krishna. 55th verse, Prasagadiyada Kaman Yolo Sarvan Lokaman Atmane Tushta Prakyastadochadi. Like that it means find. Atmani eva atmana tushtaka Sthita Prajnaka Uchyati. So Atmani eva atmana tushtaka. Such a person will be Dukkeshu Anidiktamana Sukheshu Vigadaspurka. He is not too much worried when there is a problem, and he won't be overjoyed when everything is going on fine. So transcending, going beyond pain and pleasure, happiness and unhappiness. It means we should be able to look upon happiness and unhappiness with the same equanimity of perception. If a person is always looking for if he is always looking for happiness, he will never be able to avoid unhappiness. You cannot always look for a coin with only one side. Happiness is one side, unhappiness is another side. So the only way to stop unhappiness is to stop looking for happiness all the time. If we stop looking for happiness all the time, then we can avoid unhappiness. If you are looking always for a happy situation, then there will be a occasion when there will be no happiness. That becomes an unhappy situation. So the only way to avoid unhappiness is to stop looking for happiness all the time. To understand that happiness and unhappiness are two sides of the same coin, coming one after another. You cannot have one without the other. So all these sublime ideas are found in the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, 18 verses from 55th to 72nd verse of the second chapter. So this itself is a great contribution of Gita. That is Dukkeshu Anidiktamana Sukheshu Vigadaspurka. If you want to avoid unhappiness, stop looking for happiness all the time. And then we will reach a point where happiness and unhappiness become relative to each other. We'll be able to transcend both. So that's why the highest happiness is Sukham Atyandikam Yadhyat Buddhigrahim Atindriyam. Atyandikam Sukha means the transcendental higher happiness is something that goes beyond both, is beyond the perception, understanding of mind and intellect. So I'm concluding this session here, and if you have any questions you can ask and we have discussions for a few minutes.
Namaste, Swamiji. I have difficulty to wrap my hands around the concept that you are Brahman, you're all pervasive, and at the same time we pray to God.
Oh, please excuse me, Atman, all pervasive and praying to God. Okay.
Because Sankaracharya said, according to Advaita philosophy, you're Brahman.
Yeah.
And so where does Ishvara or Siva comes into play?
Yeah.
And how can we explain to someone that Atman is all pervasive and has all the qualities of an Ishvara?
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Now, as we evolve in our own spiritual life, our understanding of God also will evolve. So at the beginning of our spiritual evolution, we need a God. That's it. Not that we need, our understanding of God will be somebody who will listen to our prayers. Abrahamic concept monotheism is tallies with this. Also Hindu, Saiva, Shakta, Vaishnava, all this. These are different monotheistic systems. So at the beginning of our spiritual evolution, our understanding of God will be close to our own being. It's the anthropomorphism in interpretation of God. Anthropomorphism means we perceive God through the prism of our own human characteristics. Happiness, unhappiness, blessing. If you do good things, God will bless us. If you do bad things, God will punish us. You find this in Abrahamic and traditions and also Hindu monotheism we find. Now, this is a very wonderful stage, like a let us say primary school, not inferior or anything. It's a early part. A well-educated man will not have contempt for students studying in kindergarten, because he himself was in a kindergarten once upon a time, and these kindergarten children will reach university later. Not that it is bad or wrong or inferior. It is one stage of evolution. As we evolve in spiritual life, we transcend but do not contradict the early part of our own convictions. As we transcend, as we go beyond these, then we will be able to see God as one supreme reality present everywhere. I can give an example from Bhagavata Purana itself. Those who are interested, you can find the 11th skandha of Bhagavata Purana. There is Nivi Navayogi Samvada. 2nd, 3rd, 4th chapter, all these deal with that. It's an interesting discussion. Who is the highest devotee of God? A philosopher, King Nimi, put this question to one of the 9 sages. Who is the real devotee of God? You may naturally expect somebody going to temple every day, put money in the hundi, or maybe puja part, or big bhog offerings, big sweets. You have seen many temple sweets like mountains, laddus. He's a wonderful devotee. This is what we normally will expect: big pious, big huge chunks of pies. No. The answer is something different. If you don't mind, I am trained and taught to quote the Sanskrit verse. Without pramana, we cannot say. I cannot say something from Bhagavata and then put it my own, as it is my own. Like mindfulness. Buddha is forgotten. Satipattana Sutta is forgotten. You talk about mindfulness as if it is my own. No. So I cannot do that. So I had to quote the Sanskrit verse. Padavakya Pramana. So there are 3 verses coming one after another, which explained 3 levels of our evolution and 3 levels of our understanding of God. The highest one is this. Sarva bhudeshu ye paschet bhagavad bhavam atmanaha bhudani bhagavadi atmani esha bhagavatottamaha. 2nd chapter, I think, 11th skandha Bhagavata Purana, Nimi Navayogi Samvada. Those who see God in everything, everybody, and those who see everyone in God is my highest devotee. You may sit in your room, in your computer room, in your startup company, without going to temple once in your lifetime. But if you are your mind on the higher ideal, and if that mind is compassionate, broad-minded, loving, Lord Krishna will give first place. Those who are sitting in front of God all the time, he may give third rank only. That is the glory of Vedanta. You need not pay allegiance to that God. You may not even utter God's name. If you live a pure life, spiritual life, and if that devotion expresses itself as compassion, broad-mindedness, then he has given you first rank. Sarva bhudeshya pasye bhagavad bhavam atmanaha bhudani bhagavadi atmani esha bhagavadottamaha. Bhagavadottami bhagavadanam uttamaha means the highest, most sattvic devotee is one who sees God in everyone, who sees everyone in God. Nothing is mentioned about going to temple or church or place of worship. Not only that, those who do that are third place. You can imagine the greatness of Hindu tradition. People don't understand all this. Second rank, second place. Archayam eva hariye pujam cha saddhaye khade na cha tad bhakteshu chanyeshu yakarodi sa madhyama. Madhyama bhakta. Uttama, then madhyama means second place. Those who have devotion to God, those who have friendly, compassionate feelings towards other devotees, those who are not jealous of those who are more evolved than you, those are compassionate towards those who are less evolved, and those who keep a long distance from people who are highly skeptical. There is a type of people, you associate with them for one day, your mind is completely confused. I've seen such people. 5 minutes of conversation is enough. They will shake your conviction if you are not fully, and they won't give you anything back. As such people wonder, they are great geniuses. They go about distributing poison, mental poison everywhere. So you need a filtering mechanism for your mind. Whenever they open their conversation, you should have a filtering mechanism, filtering out the poison. Upeksha. That's why, Maitri, Karuna, Mudra, Upekshanam, Punya, Yoga Sutra is there. So, the point is, this is second place. The devotion to God, compassionate towards the devotees, Archayam Bhujam Sasadhya Bhakti Sanyeshu. Then, this is the one thing. Ishware tadadineshu baliseshu dishasucha prema maitri kripa upeksha yak karodi samadhyamaka. Ishware, towards God, you should have prema bhakti. God's devotees, prema kripa, you mean kripa, friendly feelings. And those who are skeptical, upeksha, long distance. And those who worship God but hates everyone else, they are the third place. So the point is, they are also beginners. Nothing wrong in it. But we cannot start at the top anytime. If you want to go to university, you have to go to kindergarten when you are a child. Then only you'll teach university one day. So that is why it is very, very important. So Hinduism is so universal. One reason why you find all kinds of people going and finding a place in Hinduism, they don't ask you come to Hinduism, nobody says that. But they want to study Vedanta. So because you find a place somewhere within the Hindu tradition that is fit for your spiritual evolution. That's the greatness of it. The highest devotee is not one who goes to temple every day. The highest devotee is one who can see the presence of God outside the temple also. Going to temple is wonderful. That's not the end of it. Primary school is necessary, but that's not the end of it. So there is no contradiction. There is a steady evolution. As we evolve in spiritual life, there is an evolution from many to one, from gross to subtle, and from Dvaita, Visita Dvaita to Sadvaita. Thank you. I think we have. Yeah.
On behalf of all of us here at the Vedanta Society of Houston, offer Swamiji our